Pope Francis has announced a major reform to end what is known as pontifical secrecy when it comes to abuse. The confidentiality rule kept a shroud of silence around the reporting of sexual abuse and prevented authorities from fully investigating crimes. The move by the pontiff is a bid to improve transparency following tens of thousands of reports of sexual abuse by priests that have rocked the church in recent years, as Georgia Orlandi reports from Rome.
An historic declaration on Pope Francis' 83rd birthday, a move that will allow the Catholic Church to hand over documents concerning sex abuse cases and child sex abuse cases to civil authorities. These documents could be used for legal proceedings, and this will facilitate cooperation with civil law enforcement and also open up new lines of communication with the victims. This is the latest amendments to the Catholic Church's in-house canon law. And just to give you an example, if up until today victims could not get access to the verdict of a certain handling of a sex abuse case, now they can do so as the pontifical secrecy has been lifted. And also the measures forbid imposing the so-called obligation of silence on those people who have reported sex abuse or on those who are allegedly victims of sex abuse. Now, the lifting of the pontifical secrecy, this is, one of the highest form of secrecy in the church, was a key demand at a recent Vatican summit on the issue that took place last February, a demand coming from church leaders, but also from abuse victims. In fact, they have welcomed the news, saying that this is excellent news. Now, back in 2001, Pope Benedict had said that the measure was necessary to protect the victim's privacy. And this is the reason why many people have criticized the Vatican, saying that it was instead using the measure to keep certain scandals hidden.
Well, let's talk to Zach Heiner, who is the director of the Survivors Network of those abused by priests in St. Louis. Well, good evening to you. Thanks so much for taking the time joining us. So the Pope has said that information in abuse cases should be treated with, and I'm quoting here, security, integrity and confidentiality. Now, does that sound like full transparency to you?
Not really, and I can understand why they would say that. It sort of falls in line with the typical Vatican talking points on this. But the simple fact is children are more protected when information about abusers is made public. There's a better chance for there to actually be criminal actions. These are crimes. There should be some sort of punishment for these. So it's good that we're taking a step back from this highest level of secrecy, but really there's not much need for that secrecy. I think it's better for this to be open and honest, that church officials have promised for decades.
Yeah, promised for decades, and obviously these cases go back decades, even centuries. And is your understanding of this that this change is actually going to be enacted retroactively?
I mean, we will see. Right now we have words on paper, and we're going to look for the actions that follow up. It would be great if they can come out and release information about these historical abuse cases. But I think more critically is that we shouldn't be looking for the church officials to be doing that for us. This has all come about because of public pressure from professionals in secular law enforcement, the folks who have, been in the Barberine case and the Cardinal Pell case and what's been going on in the United States. So that's where we're going to continue to look for transparency, and the church needs to catch up to them.
Yeah, the church does need to catch up, and the Pope in some respects is trying to do so. But how do you judge his record so far in dealing with sex abuse cases?
I think he's done a lot of good public relations moves, and it's taken a year. This is something that was bandied about at his summit in last February. It's taken a year since then, so it's continuing to be the sort of plodding pace towards transparency and towards openness. He's done better than Benedict, there's no doubt, but there's a lot that remains to be done. And again, I view this more as reaction to pressure coming from the public and parishioners, not something that was done because the church has finally understood of their own volition.